Good morning, everybody. Uneducated economist here. Thought I'd talk about a few articles I was reading this morning. One of them is talking about the Russian bonds. Right now, there was some Russian bonds that were due yesterday. The payment on these dollar-denominated bonds from Russia. Now, this is what I've been talking about for quite some time, and why I see that there is a dollar dominance that is going to continue. That cash is not trash, and that at some point you're going to find that US dollars are going to be going into a bubble type scenario where people are going to be so amazed by how much the dollar can buy that they're going to think that saving in dollars is going to be the best possible option that they could be into, and that is going to be completely wrong. Remember, do opposite of what everybody else is doing. Be fearful when people are greedy, and greedy when people are fearful. This is something that goes back into hundreds of years of constant cycles and changes that happen to every scenario, every economy, every business. Everything comes to an end, everything starts, everything peaks out. And you can see it really taking place. I mean, when you hear about things going to the most extreme ever, that's when you have to be most concerned. That's not when you get in. Now, a lot of people gave me a hard time yesterday when I was talking about me going into purchasing a house at the height of the housing market. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, dude, you are going to get so burned when this thing turns. I put a lot of money down on my house, and even in the 4 months that has taken place, there is an insane amount of equity to the house that has gone up just in the increase in price, right, from the estimated value of this home. I don't necessarily believe the estimated value of the home. Point being is that it would have to be a fairly significant downturn. 10, 20%. It would have to be better than that before I'd be underwater on my house. I put that much money down and it's gone up that much. So I'm not terribly concerned about going underwater. If it does, it's probably not going to go that much. A 50% would be dramatic. I mean, if we see a 50% drop in housing market, I would be very concerned about what the rest of the economy would look like. Housing would be just one of the many problems that would be taking place at that time. But that's not happening at this point. And with 40-year mortgages coming out, I can't imagine that we would ever see a downturn in the housing market. So let's think about the dollar dominance coming from Russia, and again, and how that leads into this housing market here in the United States. Because when Russia says, hey, go ahead and make the payment with the accounts that you have there at the Federal Reserve or wherever it is, JP Morgan, I think, is actually the ones who are processing the bond payments. So when Russia says go ahead and make those bond payments, and they say, no, your assets are frozen, you make the bond payment. Russia is sitting on cash. They are sitting on US dollars, but they don't want to give them up. Why not? If cash is trash and all these nations are trying to de-dollarize and get out of the dollars, you would think that they would be the first ones to want to give them up. But they're not. They don't want to give up the ones they have. They want them to use the Russian US dollars, the Russian-owned US dollars that are sitting at accounts outside of their nation. Because they know that the dollar is worth something. It's worth a lot. And it's going to be worth more going into the future. And if you want to have anything that's going to participate on a world currency scale, there is nothing else that even remotely comes close to the dollar. It is it. So Russia knows this, and they are trying to use their rubles in any way they can. They are forcing other nations to purchase oil from them using the ruble, trying to keep strength to the ruble. They are doing everything they can to save their economy. It's going to fail. They won't be able to do it. The United States is too big, too powerful, too strong, too influential. People are scared of nukes and stuff like that. I'm not. I'm not scared of nukes. Have you ever watched, like, Dr. Strangelove? As soon as the first one goes off in a retaliation, everybody starts going off. Everybody gets wiped out. So I'm not worried about nuclear fallout. What I am most worried about is sovereign debt crisis, corporate bond defaults. This is going to lead to a massive world depression that you would, unlike anybody has ever seen. It's going to be very difficult for people to navigate through this system. The only way that it would not happen, this worldwide Great Depression, which it just seems inevitable at this point, the only way is to keep the ball rolling, to keep kicking the can down the road. 40-year mortgages, 60-year mortgages, 100-year mortgages, family generational mortgages. That's what's coming to our future. That type of thing. Otherwise, it's going to be a massive undergrowth burnout of all the zombies, all the malinvestment, all the shit that's out there. I don't think people quite recognize what it is that is happening. We are a 100% debt-based currency. When you pull out a dollar, that dollar came into existence out of debt. It is due back. When all the debts are paid, the dollar will cease to exist and you'll still owe. Think about that. Think about the assets that you own. What are they doing? If you were to get paid, what are you going to get paid in? You're going to get paid in somebody else's debt, even if it's straight up cash. It's somebody else's promise to pay. When you hold gold, when you hold Bitcoin, when you hold bullets, when you hold food, when you hold physical possessions, you are not holding somebody else's promise to pay. This is the type of scenario that we are going into that people should be very concerned about. Everybody looks at their portfolio going, I got $5 million in my retirement portfolio. Yeah, what's it doing? What are you going to get paid in? Are you going to get paid in Bitcoin or gold? Most likely not. Most likely you're going to get paid in US dollars. And if those US dollars aren't worth anything, neither is your portfolio. See, you can see it happening. This is why Russia is so adamant about, like, hey, we don't want to use ours. You use those dollars in a foreign account, because they want those dollars. They want to be able to participate on the world trade. And if they give them up, they're out of it. And that's what the United States is pushing them to do. So who cracks? Right? Do you start a sovereign debt crisis that starts bleeding into other nations going into default because Russia starts it off, and next thing you know, you got a contagion effect coming from it as these other nations who hold Russian bonds don't get paid, and now all of a sudden their credit rating starts to fall and they start to default on their loans? The corporations within them begin to default. This could seriously happen. It can happen at any time. We do not know what the triggering event is. It could have already started right now. You know, this whole debt fiat-based currency game, if you do not recognize what it is and how to protect yourself from it, you really need to start now. You need to start researching the Federal Reserve. You need to start researching what it is that the U.S. bond market really is to the world, how it's a world reserve currency, how the yuan is not going to take over as a world reserve currency anytime soon. They do not have a bond market that is big enough. They do not have deficit trading in order to supply the world with enough currency. China is not in that position to do that, and they do not have the trust of the United States. I mean, at least the United States has the idea of being a free-ish nation. I mean, China doesn't even pretend. I'm going to leave it at that. Uneducated economist. You guys let me know.